Some approaches to the problem of the shortage of time. The little tiny hole theory. The hypothesis put forward by James Osbold of the Lick Observatory, though magnificently comprehensive, presents certain difficulties to agencies seeking practical solutions to the problem. Divested of its mathematical formulation, Dr. Osbold's theory may be described in very approximate terms as positing the existence of an anomaly in the space-time continuum. The cause of the anomaly is the failure of reality to meet the specifications of the general theory of relativity, although only in one minor detail. Its effect on the actual constitution of the universe is a local imperfection or flaw, that is, a hole in the continuum. The hole, according to Osbold's calculations, is a distinctly space-like hole. In this spatiality lies its danger, since the imbalance thus constituted in the continuum causes a compensatory influx from the time-like aspect of the cosmos. In other words, time is running out of the hole. This has probably been going on ever since the origin of the universe 12 to 15 billion years ago, but only lately has the leak grown to noticeable proportions. The propounder of the theory is not pessimistic, remarking that it might be even worse if the anomaly were in the time-like aspect of the continuum, in which case space would be escaping, possibly one dimension at a time, which would cause untold discomfort and confusion, although Osbold adds, in that event we might have enough time to do something about it. Since the theory posits the hole's location somewhere or other, Lick and 2 Australian observatories have arranged a coordinated search for local variations in the redshift, which might aid in pinpointing the point/instant. It may still be a very small hole, Osbold says, quite tiny. It would not need to be a very large hole to do a good deal of damage. But since the effect is so noticeable here on Earth, I feel we have a good chance of finding the thing perhaps no farther away than the Andromeda Galaxy, and then all we'll need is what you might call a Dutch boy. The non-biodegradable moment. A totally different explanation of the time shortage is offered by a research team of the Interco Development Corporation. Their approach to the problem, as presented by N.T. Chowdhury, an internationally recognized authority on the ecology and ethology of the internal combustion engine, is chemical rather than cosmological. Chowdhury has proved that the fumes of incompletely burned petroleum fuel, under certain conditions, diffused anxiety is the major predisposing factor, will form a chemical bond with time, tying down instants in the same manner as a nucleating agent ties down free atoms into molecules. The process is called chronocrystallization, or, in the case of acute anxiety, chronoprecipitation. The resulting compact arrangement of instants is far more orderly than the pre-existent random nowness, but unfortunately this decrease in entropy is paid for by a very marked increase in bioinsupportability. In fact, the petroleum/time compound appears to be absolutely incompatible with life in any form, even anaerobic bacteria, of which so much was hoped. The present danger, then, as described by team member F. Gonzalez Park, is that so much of our free time, or radical time properly speaking, will be locked into this noxious compound, which he refers to as petrocytotoxin or PPST, that we will be forced to bring up the vast deposits of PPST which the US government has dumped or stored in various caves, swamps, holes, oceans, and backyards, and deliberately break down the compound, thus releasing free temporal radicals. Senator Helms and several Sunbelt Democrats have already protested. Certainly the process of reclaiming time from PPST is risky, requiring so much oxygen that we might end up, as Ohio, a third member of the team, puts it, with plenty of free time but no air. Feeling that time is running out even faster than the oil wells, Heiko himself favors an austerity approach to the problem, beginning with a ban on aircraft flying in excess of the speed of sound, and working steadily on down through prop planes, racing cars, standard cars, ships, motorboats, etc., until, if necessary, all petroleum-powered vehicles have been eliminated. Speed serves as the standard of priority, since the higher the velocity of the petroleum-fueled vehicle, and hence the more concentrated the conscious or subliminal anxiety of the driver/passengers, the more complete is the petrolization of time, and the more poisonous the resultant PPST. Heiko, believing there is no safe level of contamination, thinks that probably not even mopeds would eventually escape the ban. As he points out, a single gas-powered lawnmower moving at less than 3 miles per hour can petrolize 3 solid hours of a Sunday afternoon in an area of 1 city block. A ban on gas guzzlers may, however, solve only half the problem. An attempt by the Islamic League to raise the price of crude time by $8.50 per hour was recently foiled by prompt action by the Organization of Time-Consuming States, but West Germany is already paying $18.75 per hour, twice what the American consumer expects to pay for his time. Bleeding Hearts? The Temporal Conservation Movement. Willing to listen to the cosmological and chemical hypotheses, but uncommitted to either, is a growing consortium of scientists and laypersons, many of whom have grouped themselves into organizations such as Les Temps Perdus, Brussels, Protestants Concerned at the Waste of Time, Indianapolis, and the driving widespread Latin American action group Manana. A Mananista spokesperson, Dolores Guzman McIntosh of Buenos Aires, states the group's view. We have, all of us, almost entirely wasted our time. If we do not save it, we are lost. There is not much time left. The Mananistas have so far carefully avoided political affiliation, stating bluntly that the time shortfalls is the fault of communist and capitalist governments equally. A growing number of priests from Mexico to Chile have joined the movement, but the Vatican recently issued an official denunciation of those who, while they talk of saving time, lose their own souls. In Italy, a communist temporal conservation group, E si Muove, was recently splintered by the defection of its president, who, after a visit to Moscow, stated in print, "Having watched the bureaucracy of the Soviet Union in action, I have lost faith in the arousal of class consciousness as the principal means towards our goal." A group of social scientists in Cambridge, England, continues meanwhile to investigate the as-yet unproven link of the time shortage with shortage of temper. If we could show the connection, says psychologist Derek Grote, the temporal conservation groups might be able to act more effectively. As it is, they mostly quarrel. Everybody wants to save time before it's gone forever, but nobody really knows how, so we all get cross. If only there were a substitute, like solar and geothermal for petroleum, it would ease the strain. But evidently we have to make do with what we've got. Grote mentioned the time stretcher marketed by General Substances under the trademark Pseudocron, withdrawn last year after tests indicated that moderate doses caused laboratory mice to turn into Kleenex. Informed that the Rand Corporation was devoting massive funding to research into a substitute for time, he said, "I wish them luck, but they may have to work longer hours at it." The British scientist was referring to the fact that the United States has shortened the hour by 10 minutes while retaining 24 per day, while the EEC countries, foreseeing increasing shortages, have chosen to keep 60 minutes to the hour but allow only 20 hours to the devalued European day. Meantime, the average citizen in Moscow or Chicago, while often complaining about the shortage of time or the deteriorating quality of what remains, seems inclined to scoff at the doomsday prophets, and to put off such extreme measures as rationing as long as possible. Perhaps he feels, along with ecclesiastics and the president, that when you've seen one day, you've seen 'em all.